Welcome to the Sharon Partners Quarterly Market Update. Steve, thank you for joining me as always. We're recapping the December quarter for 2022, but given it is the end of the year, for all of 22, which was quite an interesting year.
Yeah, it was. It was a really volatile year, as I'm sure everyone knows, Kim. But why don't we just quickly look at what's happened over the year and the quarter? And this might surprise many people, but it was a really strongly positive quarter. The Australian market, you can see there, is up by 9.4% for the quarter. And the US market also up by 7.4%. When you look at the year, Australia nearly eked out a positive number, not quite, down by minus 1.1% for the year. But look at the US, down by 18% for the year.
And Steve, what is it about Australia that seemed to have performed so much better this time around?
This is not unusual, Kim, but the resource sector has come to the rescue of Australia again. And for a while there, Australia was down by about 10% by the end of September. So it's had this big pullback, mainly due to the resource sector. The other thing that's happened in other markets, though, Kim, is they've got a much higher proportion of technology stocks. And you look at the chart here, you can see that NASDAQ, that represents the big tech stocks in the US, that's down by 30%. So that's not only pulled down the US, but it pulls down the whole of the developed markets.
And Steve, we spent most of last year talking about bonds. We're certainly seeing in the news lots of discussion about inflation and inflation potentially peaking and potentially peaking a little bit lower than expected. What kind of an update? I know you've got no crystal ball, but what can you tell us about what to expect for 2023?
Yeah, well, let's go back and look at 2022, Kim, and it was just a terrible time, the worst time ever actually for bond investors. So if you look at the chart here, it shows the yield of bonds going up. When yields go up, prices go down. But there's some good news on the horizon, Kim. First of all, you can see the last quarter was a positive number. Oh, it was small. There's a bit of work to do to bring back the negative returns for the year. And so what might we expect going forward? You're right, inflation seems to be moderating, that's all the evidence. Now, the central banks, both here and overseas, are going to put up interest rates a little bit more, not too much more, but the market knows that and price that in, so there's no surprises there. So we're getting close to what they call the terminal rate of interest rates. They won't go up anymore. That means bonds won't go down anymore. And it also means that now bonds will be earning 4 or 5% per annum just by doing nothing, because that'll be the yield that they'll give. So all in all, Kim, it's been a really tough 2022 for bonds, but we're expecting a much, much better 2023.
And certainly I think, the bonds performing the way they did really hurt the more conservative clients that we have, because they weren't used to that sort of volatility, it being quite an unusual year. But as always, I think it's a great reminder that the Sharon Partners investment philosophy is really to stay appropriately invested, take a deep breath, stay the course, and make sure you've got a really well diversified portfolio. Steve, here's hoping to an excellent 2023. Thank you for joining us and giving us insight as always, and we'll look forward to the next quarter's update.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kim.